The Toronto Raptors may feel the need to bring in a new center at the NBA draft, so in this video we're going to cover 4 players they could select with the 19th overall pick. Let's get into it. At the end of this video, you should know everything that you need to know about the 4 centers potentially available to the Raptors with the 19th overall pick in the NBA draft, because the Raptors may feel as though they need to strengthen the depth in the center position, add on a 3rd center to the team to supplement Kel'El Ware and Jakob Poeltl, but also the Raptors may feel as though they need to bring in a center to replace Jakob Poeltl, get somebody that's more in line with the timeline of guys like Grady Dick, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, and Scotty Barnes, just one for the future to build up with the core and perhaps save a little bit of money compared to what Jakob Poeltl is making on his contract. Again, there's 4 centers we're going to go through, and they're going to be in ascending order. So we're going to start with the center that I perhaps like the least and move on eventually to the end of the video where you should stick around to see the center that I like the most that potentially could be available to the Raptors, again, with that 19th overall first round pick, because we're going through everything today on Amateur Hour Sports, the YouTube channel completely dedicated to Toronto Raptors content, whether it be in live streams or videos just like this. Drop a like if you enjoy along the way, and for more content like it, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Help us on the road to 18,000 subscribers. So first of all, we're going to talk about my least favorite center that should be available in this position at 19th overall, and that player is Kyle Filipowski. He's a Duke boy who's about 20 and a half years old, or at least will be at the time of the NBA draft. He's 6'11", but he does have a negative wingspan. I've rounded it to 6'11" here, but he's just under 6'11" for height, and he's about 6'10" and a half as far as his wingspan is concerned. So the length perhaps a little bit lacking here, but does produce a lot to kind of make up for that here. In this season with Duke, he averaged 16.3 points per game, over 8 rebounds, nearly 3 assists per game, is a good passer for the position. He knows the game, reads the game really well, which we'll talk about with the strength in just a moment here. But further down the list here, decently efficient, shooting above 50% from the field. Maybe you want a little bit better out of a center, but because he's taking on shots in mid-range, taking jumpers, sometimes he's taking shots from 3 as well, where he averaged just under 35% from 3. It does bring down the effective field goal percentage to 54.9. You'd want that to be a little bit higher for a player in that position, but based on his style of play, based on his age, I think that's something that can be forgiven, because there are some good traits associated with the player. First of all, he's got a great feel for the game, understands the game really well. You can tell he's a talented basketball player, showcases that with his ball handling, showcases that with his passing as a big, knows how to finish on the inside, decent in his post-up opportunities, is starting to show again those flashes of shooting upside, whether that be from mid-range or from 3. It's on lower volume, but again, there's flashes of upside there for potentially a team to work with at the NBA level. He's a smart defender, kind of reads the game well. Overall, just a really good feel for the game. That is his claim as a prospect here, because there are certainly some things that he is lacking here. I mentioned earlier that this is my least favorite of the 4 players we're going to cover here, and the big reason why is the athleticism and size. Not an athletic player, negative wingspan, and he really struggles to play against like proper bigs here. Struggled immensely against Zach Edey this season in the NCAA tournament. Got completely bullied by DJ Burns on NC State. Like, it's just going to be a problem. It was a problem in college a little bit. It's going to be an even bigger problem likely at the NBA, maybe playing as a 4 is more so where Kyle Filipowski is going to have his success here, because even on defense as well, doesn't move his feet particularly great. Doesn't move backwards well in pick and roll. Doesn't move side to side very well. He isn't a rim protector. There's just a lot of things that are questionable about Filipowski here, which makes me believe that there is a low upside here. I think there's somebody that ends up in the G League, and hopefully, you kind of see if he can cater his game more so to the NBA, but this definitely is not an NBA player to me out the gate. But it is somebody I would consider at 31st overall if he is still available in that position. The Raptors don't take any of the other 3 guys I'm going to talk about in this video over the course of the draft at the 19th overall position. So let's move to the second player here. We've talked enough about this guy, but the second player on my list is Zach Edey. I've continued to discuss Zach Edey on this channel. Overall, I mean, I don't really love what's available for Zach Edey, unfortunately. The size absolutely is a huge draw at 7'4" with a 7'11" wingspan. Like, he is an absolute monster. College Player of the Year, 25 points per game, 12 rebounds, super efficient as well, 2.2 blocks, but as much as there's all these great traits associated with the player, with the size, the rebounding, his decent touch on the rim protection, shot blocking, overall ball IQ, knowing his position, and his mentality just continue to improve his game, the weaknesses are something that I just can't really get over here. His speed and lateral quickness are going to be a problem. He is going to be put in pick and rolls, and it's just, he's going to be a problem. defending in space. It's just as simple as that. It's just how big of a problem he's going to be. In this 19th overall spot, I think the Raptors are better served going in a different direction. So for me, look, I wish him all the success. Maybe it is going to be with the Raptors, but definitely there's other prospects I prefer, and there's definitely other centers I prefer over Zach Edey, starting with the third player on the list here, Yves Missi. I am a fan of what I've seen from Yves Missi. He's kind of a more one-dimensional sort of player, but I think that's okay. He knows his role and sticks to it, and this is a good player to add in for depth, and it could be a player that a lot of teams are looking for. Didn't pad the stats this season, only averaged just about 20 minutes per game, but put up 10.7 points, 5.6 rebounds, and a great offensive rebound percentage to go with those rebounds. 2.6 offensive rebounds per game, 1.5 blocks, along with a great field goal percentage of 61.4. The free throw percentage leaves a bit to be desired at 61.6. Hopefully that's something that can improve at the next level. But what is such a draw for Yves Missi is the defense. He is such a good defender, mainly when he's protecting the rim. He is a vertical athlete for sure, times his blocks decently well here. There's some discipline issues, which we'll talk about there in shot blocking, but can protect the rim really well, is a great pick and roll defender, moves his feet really well, can backpedal well to kind of shadow the guard and take away sometimes that lob threat in the pick and roll. Just overall a good pick and roll defender, can be disruptive on the perimeter as well as a defender, can kind of hang in those areas, can be a little bit switchable. That's something the Raptors had to look for previously with a guy like Christian Koloko. Could they look for something like that again with Yves Missi? I think it's a possibility. Can do better with keeping his hands even more active, but overall, in all levels of defense, I think that there is a good player here. And the offense is really a bonus for what you get for Yves Missi, and that's also quite good. He's a good interior scorer, has a nice catch radius, just a catch and finisher here. Nice and simple on offense, isn't going to do a lot. Doesn't need to do a lot to be effective in those areas. Rebounding-wise, they're kind of low when you look at the stats, but again, it's low minutes. If you upgrade those minutes, if you look at like per 36 numbers, per 40 possession numbers, they're right up there with some of the best in college basketball. He's a great rebounder. He's a tenacious rebounder, and he hustles everywhere. Maybe that's part of the reason why his minutes are as low as they are, because he's constantly hustling, he's constantly operating at full throttle, but he's a great athlete, lots of great traits. It gives him a high floor. Like, you kind of know what you're getting with Yves Missi here. You can't really go wrong. I mean, he's going to be a good rim protector. He's going to be an athlete. He's going to be a good catch and finisher. It's a safe sort of bet to take in this position here that he is going to have some effectiveness in the NBA. Now, the degree of effectiveness is what we need to consider as well, and how much you really want to go from here. Defensively, this is something that will improve. He's a young player, but sometimes he wants to shot block too much. Sometimes he just needs to stay on his feet and get his hand up rather than jumping for the block. But again, for a young player, that's something that can be forgiven. On offense, again, he's just pretty one-dimensional. Catch and finisher at the rim. Really good lob threat, but his touch away from the rim isn't great. Not a great passer that could stand to improve. Like, didn't turn over the ball a lot. Didn't get a lot of assists, but just didn't really do much from a passing standpoint. That will have to maybe improve a little bit if he's going to play at the NBA level. He's not a shooter. It's a weakness, but you know it. You know that. He doesn't shoot. Didn't take a single three in college this season, so he understands his role. He is going to be dogged in performing that role. You're not going to ask a whole lot of him. That leads overall to a low ceiling. Like, it's a high floor, but it is a low ceiling. It's somebody that is going to be, effective in a specific role, but overall, like, you're not betting on this guy's upside here. But this is a role that lives in the NBA for a reason, continuously to this day. You need players like this. Teams need players like this. And I think a number of teams, like potentially the Pelicans or Grizzlies, could look at Yves Missi as a guy that could be the center they need to complement their team. The Raptors could look at him like a guy they could maybe build up a little bit, but have as the backup center. Maybe slide Kelly Olynyk in the rotation out to the 4, play him next to a more solid rim protector coming off the bench in Yves Missi. There is a question about conditioning as well because of his low minutes, but I think it's just his hustle, and I think that's something that will improve going forward. Overall, I like Yves Missi and would be intrigued by the Raptors drafting him here because there's certain players like Clint Capella in the NBA that still exist here. Clint Capella's aging, but you saw his importance with the Houston Rockets, and Yves Missi is a lot taller than Clint Capella, so you bring in a bigger version of that into the league. Yeah, that's somebody that can be effective 100%. The final player that I have on this list here is, I'll call him my favorite because of the upside. I do like Yves Missi quite a bit for the 19th overall spot, but my favorite prospect, I think, has to be Kel'El Ware for the 19th overall pick. Coming out of his season with Indiana, his second season of college ball, his first years with Oregon, where it just did not click for him, but changed his approach a little bit, changed his mentality a little bit, and just concentrated on the things he does well a little bit more with Indiana and produced a much better season overall. He's going to be just over 20 years old at the time of the NBA draft, and he has got great size. He's 7 foot, 7'1", has a 7'5" wingspan. He is huge, and he moves extremely well for his size. Overall, statistically here, the jump was up to nearly 16 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, 2 blocks a game on pretty good efficiency here, 58.6% shooting from the field, and a very eye-popping 42.5% shooting from three. It's lower volume, but he is showing signs of somebody that is going to be able to maybe hit 1 catch-and-shoot 3 a game. He's going to get like maybe 2 catch-and-shoot 3s a game, maybe hit 1 of them a game. It's not super high volume here, and when you look at shooting, when you look at numbers like this, yes, he's hitting 42%, but shooting, when I talk about shooting, your shooting gravity means a whole lot more. Doesn't have shooting gravity, but, it's great. A guy who's 7 feet tall can hit a 3 here and there. That's something definitely the Raptors could use. Overall, led to an effective field percentage of just above 61%, so very nice. What he does great, he's super athletic for his size. Like we saw, he's an absolute monster on the floor. Could stand to fill out a little bit, but with the athleticism and the age, it's absolutely something that teams are going to relish to work with. Potentially the Raptors are going to relish to work with here. He's a good interior scorer. Could stand to improve his finishing just a little bit more, but I think it's still very good, and he's definitely a lob threat for players like, Emmanuel Quickly, who could be running pick and roll sets with him at the NBA level. His shooting is good, as I said, and what's promising is that the form is quite good as well, so it's definitely something that the Raptors can mold and shape to maybe get even more efficient, maybe add on to the shooting gravity when he does get to the next level. Good rim running big, great shot blocker on defense. I think that's the best thing he does on defense. Great timing overall, and with the size, the length, the standing reach, it's just going to be so difficult to shoot over him. Does a great job in those areas as well to be effective, and with all things considered here, he's got insane upside. The size, the current ability, the athleticism, the potential to add on shooting, there is insane upside here. But if there's such insane upside, why is he being considered around the 15 to 25 range of the NBA draft? You could make a case that he's kind of underachieved overall in his college career. He came in as a 5-star prospect, and I think Kel'El Ware's got the ability to easily be, especially in a weaker draft class like this, he's got the ability to clearly be a top 5 pick. But there's questions about his intangibles, questions about his demeanor. That was much better with Indiana, and it seems like with his workouts and with interviews with teams, it's looking a whole lot better. But there just is that shadow of a doubt about his drive to continue to improve himself and be the best version of himself that he can be for his team in the NBA. Again, there's positive signs in the way, but there's just that little seed of doubt that could creep in for some teams if they look to draft him. Decision-making, overall, he can kind of get himself in some tough situations with his handling, with his passing, needs to maybe improve on passing out of doubles a little bit more here. These are things that can improve. There's a great base to work with here, but for the next level, these are definitely things that need to take a little bit of a step in the right direction here. Needs to fill out a little bit more. Can get bullied maybe a little bit. If he is going to be playing, NBA bigs, has to work on that a little bit more. But again, I think that's something that you can work on with him and can make better. But even like with screen setting, there could be areas with the strength where he should be able to even set screens now at a very high level, but he just doesn't initiate the contact well enough. So hopefully that's something that can improve to make him a better player. In post-up settings on offense, doesn't have the most diverse package to go to on the offensive end. Kind of a lot of what he relies on right now is shooting over players, which again, when you're playing the NBA, you're not going to be able to do that as often. But again, there is a great base to work with here for Kel'El Ware that I think that teams can definitely look at and think they can develop. And I think with the upside here, this could be a player the Raptors have a very good look at. This is a player that I liken a lot to Jarrett Allen. I think Jarrett Allen is often kind of overlooked as far as like a mid-range shooting standpoint goes. Not saying Kel'El Ware is great there, but he does have signs of being able to shoot a little bit from the mid-range, from the elbow, just like Jarrett Allen does. And we all know about the great things Jarrett Allen does as a rim protector and as an interior scorer. If Kel'El Ware can be a more athletic, with more spacing version of Jarrett Allen, yeah, I'd relish the opportunity to work with that for the Raptors. So those are the 4 guys the Raptors could consider with the 19th overall pick. Which one was your favorite? Which one was your least favorite? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. That's all for me for today. Drop a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the channel for more Raptors content, and I'll see you again next time for another video here on Amateur Hour Sports.